recording. We'd like to welcome you all to our travel edition of the Lunch Club, where today Lou will be taking us on a trip to Canada. Again, don't forget to stay on for the trivia at the end, but Lou, the floor is yours. And again, thanks so much for presenting today's session.
Well, Alex, you sort of set me up on a trip, starting off with a trivia question that I hadn't even thought of until you mentioned it. But let me lay it out. Only two U.S. cities, one major city and one mid-sized city, share a border with Canada. Name those two cities.
Okay, Mr. Harold, what do you say?
Detroit.
Oh, yes.
Buffalo, New York.
But when you say Buffalo?
Buffalo, New York.
That's right. You nailed it. Good job. Nice job. All right. So on that note, let me share screens and we'll get it going with the...
No fair, Lou. No prize. No fair.
Well, hey, Alex, can we
No, I was kidding, Lou. I was
No,
kidding.
that's fine. That's fine, Mr. Harold. I got you for space trivia.
That's worth a prize. That was not
No.
easy. That was not, especially the Buffalo one. That was not easy.
Yeah, I got you, Mr. Harold, okay?
All right, so here's an interesting question. If you were going to go to Canada from the Department of Aging and Community Living, which way would you travel? And Alex, okay, you are recording. Good job. How would you get there? Any thoughts? Oh, folks, I got a power problem on my computer. Think about it, and I'm going to plug my computer in. Just give me a second.
You can unmute yourself, by the way, y'all.
No,
Yeah, you don't have to raise your hand until the end. So yes.
no.
Or if you all have been there, how did you get there?
We went north. I went up up north, going towards up New York, and we crossed over and we went to the World's Fair.
Oh, which one? The Expo 67?
Yes.
You went to Expo 67?
Yes.
I was there too.
Yes. My grandmother, my mother's mother, my grandmother, my mother, my cousin came from New Orleans. I didn't take my baby because he was too little. Myself, my aunt Dot, my Aunt Marie and Uncle Bill. It was a lot of us. We went on a bus trip.
That was a big deal back in the day. You remember?
Yeah, it was.
Who else went to Expo 67 in Montreal? Who else went? That was a big deal. Okay, well, just me and you, Ann.
No, that's okay, Lou.
Well, I went to Montreal, Quebec, and Toronto in the early 80s. It was beautiful,
Nice.
wonderful, and the people were so nice.
Thank you so much for sharing, Miss Lawson.
I went to Buffalo last spring. I went biking on the Erie Canal with my brother. You know, one of the things I learned in Buffalo, there's no freeway to get there. Look at all these back roads. There's just no freeway. I was driving through every little back road in Pennsylvania, New York. So there's no freeways to get up to Buffalo from DC.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
Yeah, do you notice that, Dan?
Yeah.
All those little mining
we've
towns.
been that way before, and we always have to go the back doorway. I call it the back doorway.
That's because there is no front doorway.
Yeah. And because I remember when my son had his graduation trip, we went to Montreal, and then we went back to Montreal again when my cousin got married. Because I have relatives living in Montreal. And,
nice.
So, yeah.
And so just before we get into the videos, just a quick overview. You know, you got some great cities here. You got Montreal, you got Ottawa. I've never been to Ottawa. I've always wanted to go.
I've been to Ottawa and Quebec.
Nice. And where's Quebec hiding? Quebec's way out there.
It's on the other side, isn't it?
Yeah, Quebec is the province, but Quebec City is way out here. Montreal, Ottawa, the capital.
Yeah.
Toronto, I've been to Toronto many times.
Yeah, I've been there.
When you're from Detroit, you know, it's just a stone's throw away.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Oh,
and then you head out west. Check this, you know, so most of us are driving, right, to get to Canada,
Yep. Or about on a bus trip.
or bus trip, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they have Winnipeg. I was in Calgary. Me and my buddy hitchhiked to Vancouver out of high school. I told my parents I was going to Upper Michigan. They never knew where I went. And then we went all the way to Vancouver. Calgary was a nice town. Vancouver, oh my gosh. Vancouver, they say, is one of the two most beautiful cities in the whole world. And I believe it. I mean, it's drop dead gorgeous.
oh,
That and Hong Kong and Rio de Janeiro. I mean, they're all top of the list of the most beautiful cities in the world. Okay, well, let's learn a little bit about Canadian history. So let me stop sharing here, and I'm going to share a new screen. Give me just a moment. Just a sec. Any more thoughts anybody wants to share about Canada while I'm changing this up?
I went to Toronto. I lived in Detroit, but before I lived in Detroit, I was living in State College, Pennsylvania. My brother and I and sister, we drove to Toronto. We went across Canada to Niagara Falls.
Oh,
Then we dropped down to Buffalo, near Niagara Falls.
oh, wow.
Canada is beautiful.
It sure is beautiful. It is so beautiful. Well, I forgot about Niagara Falls. Have many of you been to Niagara Falls?
I just went to
oh
visit.
yes. I
Well,
went to
stay
Niagara Falls.
last year.
Wow, we got a lot of folks.
Oh, yes, I
Wow.
have been.
Mhm.
It's
I
beautiful.
wish I could.
Niagara Falls is amazing, isn't it?
It is.
Amazing.
Yes,
Yeah,
and even
the
on
way
the
the
water
Canadian
comes
side,
down.
it's so pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so close to us, right? It's just a natural wonder. It's just right in our back door.
Yes,
Right,
very
right.
close.
One side
When
is
I went-
Canada, the other side is New York.
Yeah.
When I
Anybody
went,
go
I
on the
got the
Maid of the Mist
Greyhound
or
bus.
go on the Behind the Falls?
What did you say?
Or anybody ever go on Maid of the Mist? You know, the boat?
Yes, I
yes.
did.
Yeah. Yep.
I didn't go on that. It was too expensive. How about how about walk behind the falls? You got all that stuff you could do. All right.
Mm.
Well, anyway,
We
now-
went on that too, with the group, with the kids. When they
yeah.
went. Yeah. They
That-
enjoyed that.
I
I
went there
wasn't
for the
too thrilled, but I got in there and went.
Oh, nice. All right, well, let's fire up the video. We got a lot to cover in 45 minutes left. So here we go.
Out of all of the colonies and frontiers on the American continents, the colonial Europeans found Canada to be the most challenging to settle. Despite the stereotypes that Canada is a peaceful, laid-back land, its history has been filled with challenges, controversies, and power struggles. Waves of colonization hit the shores of Canada as different European countries attempted to bring this vast land under colonial power. But their success was limited. In fact, it was so limited that there are still vast tracts of land in Canada that remain unexplored. The fight for unity has colored much of Canadian history, and it still influences their governmental policy today as they continue to grow and evolve into the future. Canada was populated by Native American tribes long before the Europeans arrived. Archaeologists believe that the first tribes, which have been termed the First Nations of North America, arrived between 12 and 15,000 years ago. But most of what we know about these first people comes from oral traditions and archaeology, because they did not have a system of writing. It is believed that during the last ice age, the first people arrived in Canada on the land bridge connecting Asia to North America. During the ice age, the sea levels were much lower because more of the water was frozen, meaning more dry land. The water rose and covered the land bridge when the ice finally melted, cutting off North America from Asia. The first tribes had interesting animals to hunt in Canada's wild forests and icy lands, like woolly mammoths, dire wolves, and ground sloths. Some historians think the early tribes hunted these animals to extinction, but other historians believe the changing climate had more of an impact on the extinction of these species. Either way, the tribes began building more complex societies as hunters and gatherers, and there is evidence that they were fishing along the western coast of Canada by 8000 BCE. By 1000 CE, the tribes near the Great Lakes were growing maize as one of their chief crops. Maize came into what is now the United States from Central America around 2000 BCE, and it slowly spread northward. One of the most prominent tribes in this area was the Iroquois. They are best described as a confederation of tribes, but they all spoke the same language and worked together to control the northeastern section of the Great Lakes, which included land as far south as modern-day Pennsylvania and Virginia, and as far north as Ontario. The Native Americans were not left alone forever, though. Soon, they had to contend with an influx of European people, beginning with the arrival of the Vikings. After Bjarni Herjolfsson accidentally stumbled across a new landmass after getting lost on his way to Greenland, Leif Erikson set out to explore the area. He and his men called their new discovery Vinland, but most historians believe that they actually found the northeastern coast of North America. They spent the winter of 1000 CE in Newfoundland. Leif Erikson told the Vikings all about this new land when he returned to Greenland, and in 1004 CE, Thorvald Eriksson decided to make an expedition of his own. Thorvald was much more violent than his brother Leif, and when he stumbled across a group of 9 indigenous fishermen, he attacked them and killed 8 of the 9. Historians are not sure why Thorvald attacked. The fishermen did not start the fight, but the tribe didn't much care to hear Thorvald's reasons. They attacked, forcing the Vikings to hunker down in a hastily barricaded settlement. Although most of the Vikings survived the winter, Thorvald was killed by an arrow that came over the barricade walls. Other groups of Vikings had similar experiences with the tribes in Canada. The tribes were generally peaceful, even willing to engage in trade, until a member of the tribe was injured or killed. Then, the Vikings were unable to stop the wrath of the Canadian indigenous tribes. The Vikings left Canada around 1010 CE, and Canada was again left to its own devices until 1497, when the French and English began to arrive. Almost everyone has heard of Christopher Columbus, but fewer people have heard of John Cabot, who claimed Newfoundland for England in 1497. The English quickly discovered that the eastern coast of Canada was a lucrative fishing spot, especially for cod. Cabot was also looking for a quick way to reach China and India, but he had not found one by way of Canada before he disappeared in 1498. France began exploring the New World in 1524, but they wouldn't begin exploring Canadian lands in earnest until 1534, when explorer Jacques Cartier reached Newfoundland and declared the icy landscape was the land God had given to Cain. He traded with some of the local tribes, forced locals to serve his expedition as guides, and even brought some indigenous people back to France to prove he had arrived in the New World. Cartier is the explorer who officially gave Canada its name. He heard one of the indigenous people refer to the land as Kanata, which is the Iroquois word for settlement or meeting place, and he began using it to refer to the entire land. There were several French expeditions to Canada, but the explorers quickly learned how brutal Canadian winters could be, which put an end to many of the explorations. In the early 1600s, the French began to settle colonies, self-sufficient farming villages, and trading posts, and in 1608 they built a fortified settlement called Quebec. While trying to survive Canadian winters in Quebec, the French began to make alliances with the Montagnais and the Hurons, and they found themselves involved in tribal military conflicts. The main threat came from the Iroquois, who happened to be supported by France's biggest rival, the British. France and Britain were already fighting for dominance in Canada. The area was valuable for the fur trade, and neither country was willing to give up such a vast swath of land during colonial times. British pirates were attacking French settlements and French vessels, stopping some ships before they even landed in Canada. Meanwhile, the Iroquois and the Huron continued to fight, and the Iroquois eventually defeated their rival. By the early 1650s, the Iroquois were the only powerful tribe in the region, and they did not establish friendly relations with the French. Instead, they attacked the French colonies, and the French were left without a main indigenous ally. King Louis XIV finally decided to send the colonies some help, and in 1665, he sent 1,000 troops to Canada to aid in colonization efforts. The French army marched through Canada, conquering land around the Great Lakes, and the British, French, and Iroquois signed a peace treaty in 1701. Of course, the peace treaty didn't last very long, and about 10 years later, the British attacked French-Canadian land. The fighting only lasted a few years, and the Peace of Utrecht in 1713 made France give up important territories in Canada to the British. At this point in Canadian history, the country was divided fairly equally between the French and the British. The British forced out all the French Canadians living in their territory because they did not trust them in case war broke out. And with French and British relations, war was always coming to a head. Conflict erupted again in 1754 with the French and Indian War. Many consider this war to be the North American theater of the 7 Years' War, which began 2 years later. At first, the French colonies did well against the British, especially because the indigenous people fought alongside the French. When the British called in the Royal Navy, Louisbourg was lost, which was the best French port in Canada. The British then marched on Quebec. It took them several months to take the city. The French were tenacious, but hopelessly outnumbered. The Treaty of Paris in 1763 marked the end of the 7 Years' War and the official end of French colonization in Canada. Unlike the previous French citizens, the French colonists now under British rule were given a lot of leniencies. They could still practice their language, religion, and culture while still maintaining the rights as other Canadians under British rule. These measures were finalized in the Quebec Act of 1774. The Quebec Act had unexpected consequences. While it did establish some peace in Canada, it riled up the 13 colonies just south of Canada, leading to the American Revolution. At first, Canada tried to remain neutral in the conflict, but the American colonists did not allow them to remain uninvolved in the conflict because they were a threat to the war effort. In the late summer to the early fall of 1775, George Washington sent troops into Canada, and although they took Montreal, they never managed to overpower Quebec. The American troops were eventually forced to retreat as reinforcements arrived from Britain. But after the colonies had won the war, some of the remaining loyalists moved to Canada, settling mostly in Nova Scotia. The conflict between Canada and the United States would continue with the War of 1812. For many reasons, including the impressment of American citizens into the British Navy, the United States and Britain were once again at war about the rights of America as a new country. The Americans believed that to attack Canada was to attack the British Empire. After all, Canada was still under British rule. But once again, the Canadians proved they were tougher than they looked. The fight for Canadian control was bloody, but the War of 1812 ended with Britain finally acknowledging the United States as an independent country. In turn, the United States finally gave up the idea of seizing land in Canada. After these wars, the 1800s were a time of economic growth for Canada. For many years, the fur industry had been the backbone of the Canadian economy, making up 75% of Canadian exports in the 1770s. By 1810, though, the fur trade was in decline, and the Canadians were forced to consider other sources of income. People began branching into other areas, including harvesting timber. In fact, timber had become so important that it made up 75% of Canadian exports in 1810. The problem with the growing industrialization was that it mainly happened in British Canada, and French Canadians did not appreciate being left out. Tensions finally exploded on November 23, 1837, in the Battle of St. Denis. Although the rebels won the first battle, the British Empire quickly squashed any further hints of resistance and rebellion. In 1840, the British instituted the Act of Union, where they united Upper and Lower Canada and made sure the French Canadians were not isolated. They hoped that, in time, the British ways would rub off on the French Canadians and keep out any rebellious ideas. The following years saw general growth in Canadian politics, economics, and population as people immigrated to Canada and began pushing west. Even though Canada was still under British rule, they continued to develop their own government and began participating in international events. although fighting in wars continued to be a decision of the British government. The British sent Canadian troops to fight in World War I, and the Canadian troops were instrumental in several battles. After the war, Canada technically remained part of the British Empire, even though they received even more autonomy in 1931 with the Statute of Westminster. They were allowed to run their country as they saw fit, but the British could edit the Canadian Constitution if the Canadian Parliament allowed it. With this change in foreign policy, the Canadians were finally free to interact with other countries on their own, and they made strong ties with the United States and proved instrumental to World War II and the Cold War. By the late 1960s, Canada had finally found its own culture, shaking free of the centuries of colonization and finding itself. This is probably best symbolized by the adoption of the Canadian flag in 1965. The maple leaf was as quirky, tenacious, and unique as the Canadian people. In 1982, Canada celebrated its independence from Britain. Today, although the British monarch is still seen as the ruler of Canada in the role of a figurehead, Canada is free to make its own decisions on policy. Although Canada is not finished growing, they will continue to celebrate their dual heritage and prove important to the history of the world. To learn more about Canada, check out our book, History of Canada.
Well, that was really interesting. What did you guys all think of that? Everybody's muted.
Pretty par for the course, Lou.
I'm talking just as fast. Go ahead, Harold. I'm sorry.
No. Go right ahead, and just trying to help out.
Okay. I was talking.
Well, and you're
was muted. It was a lot of stuff that I did not realize that about the history of Canada. In studying it, I had never heard that. Yeah.
And they're so close to us, right? I never heard of half of that stuff. Anything else?
Who owns Canada now? Canada?
Yeah, it sounds like it. A couple of things that jumped out at me is I didn't know they knew all that Leif Erikson stuff. I mean, not too long ago, they were just guessing that he had gotten here. Now they know how he died and what his brother did. He was shot by an arrow. I was like, where do they know all this stuff from?
History.
Yeah, it was wild. That's all new information as far as I've ever heard. And then the other thing is I didn't realize how recent Canadian history is, that they were really considered part of Britain until like 1931. Man, that's really recent. And then how about that they didn't actually separate fully until 1982? I mean, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
And how about the Canadian flag? They didn't adopt that until the 1960s.
1965, yeah.
Yeah.
So what is their flag? Was it a British flag? Anybody want to look it up? Share your screen. What was the flag before 1965?
Yeah.
Remember, see, Canada is still under the rule. I know it's symbolic, but it's still under the rule of the British Crown.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They still, the British King Enoch, or king today, is still the monarch of Canada. It's the way it's set up.
All right, folks, we got 30 minutes left. I got to start blazing through this stuff real fast. So how about 10 places to visit in Canada? Let's fire that one up. Oh my gosh. Hold on. It's using the wrong program. I got to use this one. Okay. Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Awe-inspiring scenery, vibrant cities, and a welcoming atmosphere all make Canada a popular tourist destination. As the largest country in North America, Canada is a vast land encompassing majestic mountains, virgin forests, spacious prairies, and Arctic tundra. While much of the nation is of British and French descent, Canada is home to a mosaic of multicultural communities. Here's a look at the best places to visit in Canada. Number 10. Cape Breton Island. While it's located in northeastern Nova Scotia, Cape Breton Island was once its own independent colony until it was forced to merge in 1820. As it welcomed thousands of Scottish expats in the early 19th century, it remains the only place in North America where you'll hear Gaelic spoken. Amongst its spectacular landscapes, the highlight is undoubtedly Cape Breton Highlands National Park, with its phenomenal Cabot Trail and gorgeous lookout points. Don't forget the scenic fishing villages such as Bay St. Lawrence, where you'll find some excellent seafood. Number 9. Montreal. The second largest city in Canada after Toronto, Montreal is the cultural and financial capital of the Quebec province. Boasting the largest French-speaking community outside of Paris, France, Montreal is a bustling metropolis, a downtown district, a historic quarter, entertainment district, and several distinctive neighborhoods. Montreal's main sites include downtown skyscrapers like the Olympic Tower, the historic buildings of Old Montreal, and several family attractions like theme and water parks. Number 8. Whistler. Thanks to a couple of spectacular mountains called Whistler and Black Comb, the Whistler Resort is the largest and most famous alpine ski destination in North America. Located in the Coast Mountains of British Columbia, Whistler is a 2-hour trip from Vancouver along Canada's most scenic drive, the Sea to Sky Highway. At the base of the two mountains are 3 quaint villages, Whistler Village, Creekside, and Upper Village. The peak-to-peak gondola transports visitors from the villages to the mountains. Number 7. Vancouver Island. Vancouver Vancouver Island, named after the British explorer George Vancouver, is the largest island off the west coast of the North American continent. Located across from Washington State, it is accessible by ferry through the San Juan Islands from Anacourt, from Port Angeles on the state's Olympic Peninsula, or from Vancouver on mainland British Columbia. Vancouver Island is famous for the quaint city of Victoria, the gorgeous Bechart Gardens, the surf town of Tofino, and the wilderness in the north, where one can catch a ferry to Prince Rupert and another to Alaska from there. Number 6. Quebec City. Quebec City may be the capital of the Quebec province in eastern Canada, but its French heritage, architecture, and language make it appear more like a charming European village. Perched on a hill overlooking the St. Lawrence River is Vieux Quebec, the city's historic district. A walk along the cobblestone streets of the old city offers encounters with attractions like the Citadel and the Place Royale, the area where explorer Samuel de Champlain established the first North American French settlement. The city's icon, the stunning Chateau Frontenac, is regarded as the most photographed hotel in North America and offers tours even without an overnight stay. Number 5. Toronto. The capital of Ontario, Toronto, is the most populated city in Canada, as well as one of the largest cities in North America. With a large number of ethnic districts like Chinatown, Little India, and Little Italy, Toronto is also one of the world's most culturally diverse cities. The city's main tourist draws range from impressive landmarks such as the iconic CN Tower and the fairy tale castle of Casa Loma. Additionally, the Toronto Islands are a popular destination with beaches and outdoor activities. Number 4. Churchill. The small town of Churchill is undoubtedly the biggest tourist draw in northern Manitoba, at least during the fall. That's when the polar bears move inland, giving Churchill the name Polar Bear Capital of the World. October and early November are good times to take in this polar bear migration. But boat tours along Hudson Bay take tourists to them in the summer as well. Sometimes the bears wander into town where they're put in jail until they can be released back into the wild. July and August are popular times to visit also, since that's when thousands of beluga whales are migrating. Number 3. Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls is a series of 3 awe-inspiring waterfalls situated on the border of Canada's Ontario and the United States' New York. The Ontario side of the falls is called Horseshoe Falls and offers the best views and most attractions. The immediate area surrounding the falls is a premier tourist spot, teeming in observation towers, restaurants, souvenir shops, casinos, and high-rise hotels. One of the best places to view the Niagara Falls on the Ontario side is from Queen Victoria Park, where the falls are illuminated and fireworks are displayed nightly during the summer. Number 2. Vancouver. Situated between the Coast Mountains and the Pacific Ocean in British Columbia, Vancouver is favored for its majestic landscapes that present a natural playground where tourists can swim in the ocean, rollerblade through scenic parks, and snow ski in the mountains all in one day. The third largest metropolitan area in the country, Vancouver is one of the most popular places to visit in Canada. Vancouver's star attraction is Stanley Park, which covers a huge area of woodlands, gardens, and green spaces. Some of the city's other top sites include Granville Island's remarkable food market and Chinatown's vibrant array of shops. Number 1. Banff National Park. Located in the province of Alberta, the Banff National Park is not only Canada's first national park, but also one of the nation's largest and most visited national parks. The park's breathtaking scenery and wildlife draw many tourists every year along the Trans-Canada Highway, which passes through the park. Banff National Park's large concentration of wildlife includes mammals like black bears, grizzly bears, bison, moose, wolves, and bald eagles.
right. That was beautiful. Any thoughts, reflections?
I just remember the fireworks behind the mountains in the falls in Atlanta. I'm sorry, I'm having a brain freeze here today. Behind Niagara Falls.
Oh,
And the
nice.
fireworks and stuff, that is spectacular to see.
Nice.
And they do that for weddings. People get married there on the by the falls.
Nice.
And it is absolutely gorgeous.
Any other thoughts?
I
Reflections?
remember going to Toronto and someone was jumping off that tower.
Oh my gosh, you kidding?
They had him tied with a rope around his waist. He took so long, I was getting frustrated, but he did make it. He did try to jump.
Did he do it illegally?
No, everybody was waiting for him.
Oh
They
my
were,
God.
it was set up to jump from the tower, yeah,
Oh, I got it. I get
as
it.
entertainment.
Excellent. Any other thoughts from the group?
Well, I was thinking about how beautiful Canada is. And then I thought about last summer when the forest fires were sending all the smoke and everything down here,
Oh, yeah.
as far as DC and everything. Thank God it
Yeah.
didn't happen this year as hot as it is. Well, was.
I
So if
actually
they were
heard,
gonna
isn't
let
it,
those,
it was in the Washington Post yesterday that I guess it's happening again.
oh no. It'll be coming this way because you could see it. It looked like smog and everything, and they were just gonna let them burn because it's such a vast country. And
Yeah.
a lot of those places are uninhabitable, so it would be
Yeah.
too difficult trying to fight them and put them out. So they just let them burn, and then the smoke and everything comes this way.
Yep.
But it's a beautiful, beautiful country.
Well, let me jump into some other things real quick because we got 2 more videos to play and we got the trivia, so I better get moving here. Let me play this video for you. It's a little bit of a funny one. So let me play this real quick.
When it comes to stereotypes, what are some stereotypes that Canadian people have about Americans?
Ooh, I won't get shot, will I?
You won't get shot, no.
That might be one of them.
That they are, rude, loud, aggressive.
Oh, they're fat, crazy. They are poor in culture. They don't know their geography.
They eat a lot, do everything big. A lot of obese people.
Any other stereotypes that you can think of?
Wow, rednecks, cowboys, freedom, eagles, bombs, war.
The fact that Americans really like guns, more towards the southern states, that they don't think globally. They don't understand politics outside of their, outside of their domain.
When it comes to stereotypes, what are some stereotypes that Canadian people have about Americans?
Probably that there's a lot self-centered. They eat a lot of fats and it's, basic stereotypes that we see from the outside. But I'd have to say a lot of self-centered attitude. Yeah, like they're leaders of the free world. That's the one expression they say all the time. Like they elect a new president and he's the leader of the free world. Like what is this free world thing? It's a country, as far as I know. They're the best in the world.
When it comes to stereotypes, what are some stereotypes that Canadian people have about Americans?
That they don't like us as much as we like them. They kind of have like a stigmatism towards us.
Why do you think that? Why do you think they have stigmatism?
We're so far up compared to them. And I don't know, maybe they think we have an accent compared to them.
Canadians are like the distant cousins, and like Americans just don't want to talk to them during the family reunion.
Probably, or they're the ones who they make fun of.
So where'd you get these stereotypes from?
I think How I Met Your Mother. Do you know how Barney always makes fun of us?
When it comes to stereotypes, what are some stereotypes that Canadian people have about Americans?
Yeah, we would say probably ignorance at some point. All of them are growing out there.
McDonald's children?
McDonald's children.
They're all related to Ronald McDonald?
All of them all have like guns and stuff. They're all walking around, have guns and stuff, and they're super like anal, like don't trespass.
Yeah. So they got like McDonald's in one hand and the gun in the other. Is that correct?
Yeah, drive through. Yeah.
I don't want this Whopper. Get out of here.
They're fat people. They don't work really hard. They exploit the immigrants. And basically, all the bad things we say about white people in general, could be applied to Americans.
Okay, you know how you know there's an American in Montreal? I'll tell you right here, right now, and you'll never forget this for the rest of your life, man. If you see a polo shirt, if you see anyone wearing a dress shirt that's opened, or you see a tan and they have like some kind of accent, you know they're from the States.
You know when you go to like the vacations like in South and you meet those super douchey Americans that are super loud. I'm American! Like, man.
Anyway, that goes on and on and on. I thought I'd play that a little bit. And then let's go the other way here, and let's look at some things not to do for us when we go there. Oh, I keep opening it with the wrong browser. Hold on. With the wrong video player.
Canada, so near to the USA. You're already packing to meet this huge and wonderful country? Great! But don't forget these things not to do to enjoy your holidays in full. Know before you go. Number 1. Don't compare Canadians with Americans. Although some Canadian accents may sound similar to some American ones, the similarities stop there, historically, politically, and socially. Canadians are very different from American people, and they're proud of it. Number 2. Don't forget to return an apology. The most common phrase you'll hear in Canada is, "I'm sorry." They tend to use it a lot, especially in situations where one might say, "Excuse me" or "Pardon me," so its meaning goes beyond a basic apology. Even if you don't understand it, if you're in a situation where someone says, "I'm sorry," just say it back. Number 3. Don't assume that Toronto is the capital. The capital city is Ottawa, the seat of Canada's federal government. However, we often think that Toronto is the capital, but remember Ottawa to avoid misunderstandings. Number 4. Don't slam poutine. This is a French-Canadian fast food speciality. It's basically a dish of French fries with cheese and gravy drizzled over it. It's the typical food you'll guzzle down after coming back from the disco. Number 5. Don't discuss French-English relations. Canada has had a long, difficult history. Some of these tensions still remain between French and English Canada that emerge every once in a while, so just avoid the topic. Number 6. Don't forget to let people exit first. In the major cities of Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal, when you're taking public transportation, you should wait until everybody has got out before you get in. Also, make sure to say "I'm sorry" a few times as you go. Number 7. Don't complain about the cold. Everybody knows that Canada suffers harsh winters accompanied by strong winds. However, it's not the same in all regions. It can vary a lot from one to another. Also, they kind of already know about it. They live there and don't need you reminding them all the time. Number 8. Don't criticize Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons is a cultural institution in Canada. It's a multinational fast food chain known for its coffee and donuts. So regardless of how it tastes to you, don't insult this Canadian cultural icon. Number 9. Don't think the whole country is the same. Canada is a huge and diverse country in terms of geography, people, and regional identities. Each of its provinces and territories has its own distinct history and character. If you're unsure how stable the regional relations are, it's best to avoid comparisons. Number 10. Don't diss maple syrup. Think about it. The maple...
All right, well, we're running late, so I got to end it there. All right, folks, unless you have any urgent comments, I'm going to jump into the trivia. So here we go.
Thank you so much, Lou, for finding those videos and presenting them to us. Canada is such a beautiful country. So again, thank you. So yes, Lou will be putting up the trivia in just a second. But again, as usual, if you would like to answer one of Lou's trivia questions, you must raise your hand. in Zoom in order to see if your answer is correct. So again, you tap more at the top right of Zoom, and then you tap raise hand. So can everyone in Zoom please raise their hand? So again, to practice, be sure you tap more at the top right, then you tap on raise hand, okay? Thank you, 9 hands up. Appreciate that. If your toolbar is at the bottom, you can hit reactions and then raise hand. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. We have 11 hands up. You all can hit lower at the bottom to lower your hand. Thank you so much. Again, if you answer a question correctly, you are in the running for a prize today. So good luck to all. And Lou, let's go ahead and get started.
All right, so let's fire up our Canada trivia here. I think that's Lake Louise, by the way, in Banff. Could be wrong. Okay, here we go. First question is, oops, just a sec. Canada has the longest what geographic feature in the world? Tough one. Canada has the longest what geographic feature in the world?
Okay, again, based on the order of hands, Brenda, what is your answer?
I'd say the coastline.
Woo! That was good. I thought I'd stump you guys on this one.
Good job, Brenda.
How did you know that, Brenda?
I looked it up.
That was I thought I'd have you all stumped on this one. It's the longest coastline in the world. The coastline is surrounded by 3 oceans and makes up almost 57% of the world's total coastline. That's insane.
Wow. That's a lot.
That's insane. 151,000 miles of coastline.
Wow, that is a lot.
But look at the map. I mean, look at all those islands, and I mean there's a lot of coast out there. All right, next question. Here we go.
Brenda, good job.
Thank
you.
Okay, here's another good one. Every Canadian knows what this tool is. What is it called? If you are Canadian, you would know what this was, this tool. It's a true test of a Canadian.
And please raise your hand if you would like to answer.
I'll give you a hint. What is connected to that tool? What's connected to the tool?
Any takers? Okay, Miss Thompson, what is your answer?
I'm going crazy. It's a snow shovel.
No, good guess. Good guess. What do you see connected to that tool? Is a snow shovel connected to one of those also?
Okay, Miss Linda, what is your answer?
Snow scraper.
No, good guess. Again, what do you see connected to the tool? There's something connected to that tool. What is that?
Okay, thank you, Miss Linda, for trying. Appreciate that. Anne, what do you say?
Well, it's something to do with a hose, and it's a hose something. I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's a hose raker, like a hose scraper.
Okay.
Okay, so you're the closest so far.
Okay. Thank you, Anne. Dolores, what do you say? What do you think? What is your answer?
That's like the ice, the hose icebreaker. Shaver, ice shaver.
No, good guess though. Good guess. We might have him stumped on this one, Alex.
Okay, you want to go for 2 more?
Sure.
Okay, Miss Thelma, what is your answer?
Is that a suction hole hooked to a window cleaner?
No. Save this picture. Take a snapshot of this. Every Canadian knows the answer to this. They're laughing at us right now because we don't know that.
They'll laugh.
What do
That's
you
like
say,
showing a
Miss
picture of
Snow?
a hamburger and them not knowing what that is. It's
What is
that
your
common
answer,
in
Ms.
Canada.
Brenda?
One more question, one more answer. All right, we got him stumped. You ready, guys? Here we go. That's a rink rake. So
Oh, wow.
every Canadian father, and I'm almost saying like everyone, period, every winter makes an ice rink for their kids in the backyard. And I grew up in Detroit, so we did that there too because we were just so close to Canada. And you make an ice rink in your backyard, and your kids learn to skate in your backyard. That's why they love hockey so much, because every kid grew up with an ice rink in their backyard. And every dad in Canada owns a rink rake.
Wow.
Yeah. Remember that word. Ask a Canadian that. They'll answer you immediately.
Again,
All
don't
right,
forget
all
to
right.
lower your hands, everyone. Don't forget to lower your hands for each question. Thank you so much.
Alex, I think that's the first time we stumped the group in on all the shows we've done.
Oh, in a while. Yeah, it's been a while, but good job for you to you all.
Shows how smart the group is.
Mhm.
Okay, next one. Who is the great one?
Yep, again, use your resources at your disposal. Mr. Harold, what is your answer?
Fella by the name of Wayne Gretzky.
That's right, Mr. Harold.
Oh,
Great
wow.
job.
Oh yeah, you answered one before, Mr. Harold. You'll be twice on the board for today.
Anybody know what team he played for? Well, actually, they got one on his jersey there.
Well, yeah, I was about to say we got the jersey on, right?
What was the main team? That's not the main team where he earned the reputation. What was that? What was the main one?
Miss Hill, what was the main hockey team that
This
he
this
played?
isn't one of the answers. Well,
Yeah.
actually, yeah, we can make it one of the answers since we missed the last one. What was the main team he played for?
Again, you
Alex?
gotta hit unmute in the middle, you all, in order to answer. And what do you say?
This is a makeup question for the last one. Anybody? Alex, you pick who answers.
Yeah. And what do you say for your answer?
I forgot to lower my hand. I don't really know.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And appreciate that. Again, Miss Hill, what team was he known for? Okay.
Every Canadian knows this. That's like Babe Ruth. What team did Babe Ruth play for? The Yankees, right? Any Canadian knows this.
Ms. Jefferson, what is your answer? You gotta hit unmute in the middle.
The Oilers, Edmonton Oilers.
There you go. Great. Oh, no, I'm going the wrong way. Oh, shoot. Sorry, I messed it up.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Jefferson, for your answer. Appreciate it. Good job.
Hold on. I think the screen sharing stopped. My mistake. I messed it up. Apologize. Okay, we're almost done. I'm taking way too long here. My apologies. My apologies. Can you all see it now? Probably not.
You haven't shared your screen yet, Lou.
Okay. Hold on. Okay, I gotta pick it back up. My apologies. Let me fast forward here. Okay, good job on Edmonton Oilers. Okay, next question. How many time zones are there in Canada? I accidentally show the answer. Anybody know?
Denise, what is your answer?
6.
6. Good job.
Good job, Denise. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I'll go faster. What dish is this? And what is it made of? What dish is this and what is it made of?
Yep. It's mentioned in the videos.
That's right.
Yep, Miss Hill, what is your answer?
Was French fries with gravy and I don't know. I don't know what's that on top.
But and the name of the dish, ma'am.
Cheese. French fries with gravy and cheese.
That's one part of the question, Miss Hill. You got it. What's the name of the dish?
Oh man. Dang, going it.
Yeah, we got to move on to the next one. But thank you.
Okay.
Miss
Okay.
Hill. Appreciate it. Again, let's not forget to lower our hands. Miss Lawson, again, what's the dish and what is it made of? You got to hit unmute in the middle, Miss Lawson. Miss Carolyn, you got to hit unmute in the middle so that way you can answer. Miss Carolyn, what is your answer?
A poutine,
And what is it made of?
French fries, gravy, cheese.
Lou, are you there?
Yeah. I'm sorry. What was it called again? The name?
Yeah. Say your answer.
Poutine.
Okay, good job. Poutine. Yes. Sorry about that. I got somebody texted me. Yes, it's the Canadian national dish. French fries topped with cheese curds and hot gravy. Good job. Excellent. Okay, next area. This is a tough one. In what area would you weigh the least in Canada? Sorry, Alex, I should have started trivia 15 minutes ago. In what area would you weigh the least in Canada? This is a real ringer question.
Any takers? Again, I see Brendan, Mr. Hill, thank you so much. Again, someone that has not answered one yet. Let's see. But you can keep your hands. Anne, what is your answer?
Hudson Bay.
Yes. How did you know that?
I remembered it from, it was in one of those videos.
Oh, wow. Good job, Anne. Thank you so much.
So the Earth actually has like high gravity and low gravity areas, and the two biggest low gravity areas on Earth are way down here in India, and almost exactly on the opposite side of the world in the Hudson Bay area in Canada. And they say it's because the ice sheet was retreating. You weigh almost 1 pound less in the Hudson Bay as you do here. Isn't that amazing? About a pound less. All right, I'm gonna move. All right, here we go. This is your final question. Canada's famous for its comedians, right? Name 3 famous comedians from Canada. Name 3 famous ones. That's probably Canada's biggest global export, is its comedians. Okay, Alex, we got some respondents. Sorry about this. This is like a record long call.
No, again, anyone that hasn't answered one correctly, but again, keep your hand up if you have. But again, we've gotten a lot of folks to answer questions right today. So good job, you all. Miss Shirley, what is your answer? Again, you must have 3 for your answer.
Oh, what's that? Eugene Levy, Jim Carrey, and Tommy Chu?
Remember that. Yeah, there's so many. Remember that. Let's take another person. You might be right. And if you're right, you won. But let's take a backup person. Because I'm not sure of the answer myself. Alex, one more backup respondent.
There are no eligible hands yet, Lou.
Okay.
I think for now, I think we should just give it to Miss Shirley. Thank you.
All
so
right,
much.
and here we go. Here they are. Jim Carrey, Mike Myers. Look at that. Martin Short. These are major stars. Dave Foley. Who did you say? There was an Asian name, I think you said. Eugene Levy. You nailed that one. Leslie Nielsen. Remember all the airplane movies? John Candy. Are you kidding me? They cornered the market. Seth Rogen. Get out of here. Phil Hartman. Dan Aykroyd. Back off.
Oh, I'm
Look
sad
at
that
these
Norm
names.
Macdonald died.
Howie Mandel. I didn't know that. My gosh. What's that thing? Something or know something? What's it called? Well, the one with the Queen was on. Or anyway. And here's another group. McDonald, Sasso, Wells. I don't know a lot of these guys. Matthew Perry, he just died. We all know, we aware of him from Friends. Michael J. Fox, get out of here. That's amazing. Will Arnett. Yeah, so there's even more after this. I just took a couple of screenshots. All right, Alex, take us home.
Thank you so much, Lou, for today's presentation. We really enjoyed it. And thank you, Lou. Again, as always, we have a prize for the correct answerers of the group. So again, thank you so much to Brenda, Mr. Harold, Miss Linda, Miss Denise, Miss Carolyn, Miss Ann, and Miss Shirley for answering a question correctly. Thanks so much. And let's see who wins a prize today. Okay, good job, Mr. Harold. Again, thank you
Mr.
so much
Harold,
for joining
congratulations.
us today. And
Thank you. Thank you.
you won a prize. You won a stylus pen for your iPad. Thanks so much for joining us today.
All right, so am I able to pass that pen over to someone else?
Sure, if you'd like, they really appreciate that. Someone who's joined or is on the Zoom now, who would you like to provide it to?
Well, let's give it to Miss Brenda Hill.
Oh, well, okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Harold. Thank you so much for your kindness. And again,
Thank you,
congratulations.
Mr. Harold.
Mr.
Thank
Harold.
you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Lou. Thank you.
Mr. Harold.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
Yep. Thank you so much again for your kindness, Mr. Harold, and thanks so much for your participation. Well, Lou, again, thank you so much for presenting today's session. Next week, we'll be taking a trip to Mexico. I put a sneak peek flyer in the chat, but again, I will see you all at 1:30 for our module on Zoom. Let's all thank Lou for presenting today's session and wish everyone a wonderful weekend. See you all at 1:30.
Okay.
Thank you, Lou.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Enjoy
Have
it.
a good day.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
weekend.
Lou.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Yeah.
Canada's a beautiful
See you all
country.
soon.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.